Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where each and every Friday I sit down with a wonderful content creator and I chat with them about their journey, hopefully pulling out something that you can take and apply to your channel or your business or whatever you're trying to grow. I really appreciate everyone who listens to this show. We've got a lot of new reviews over on all the different podcast platforms, and I really appreciate that. That means the world to me. It's absolutely free for you, and it helps the show tremendously. So thank you for that, and if you haven't done that, please go over there and do, if you will, if you have time. You can subscribe to this show for free wherever and however you listen to your podcast. If you want to watch the video version of the show, you can just search for YouTube Creators Hub over on YouTube, and we are there. Couple of thank yous here. Huge thank you to TubeBuddy for continuing to be the primary sponsor of the show. It's the one tool I continually recommend for creators to try if you haven't already. Check it out in the show notes below. I offer personal and private coaching as well for YouTube channel, brand management, launching a podcast. All of that will be in the show notes as well. And then we have a newsletter that's called the Entrepreneur's Minute, where every Friday I talk about what's going on behind the scenes in my business. I post the interviews and conversations I've had, resources I've found, and just overall hopefully some helpful motivation going into the weekend and something that you can consume weekly that's not going to be spam. I'm not selling anything. I just literally am telling you and trying to grow my community. And speaking of community, a lot of our community right now is at VidSummit, and they're at the conference right now in Texas. And I got a message in our creator group from Joshua Griffin, one of my good friends and supporters. He said, just wanted to send this picture and say thank you for all that you've done. I've got some lifelong friends that I met here at VidSummit, and I would not have even known these guys if you never decided to start this group. That meant a lot to me, and the group he's referring to is what I call our Creator Communities group, where basically you support us for $5 over on Patreon, and you get access to the Discord server, plus our monthly mastermind calls that I host on Zoom. Josh, I just want you to know that meant a lot to me. I'll post the picture on my website, and you'll see some folks there, but there's some amazing folks over there, and I'm not in it to make the money. It's just that way it keeps all the people out who are going to spam. But man, it's really one of the greatest ways you can grow as a creator is to go over there and rub elbows and shoulders with the people who are living it every single day. And these people are meeting each other, they're becoming friends, and the rest is history. So that's just amazing to watch, and I'm so thankful for that. So with all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into this week's conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's conversation on the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. Dusty here, as always, joined today by Glory Anna from the Glory's Stories YouTube channel. A little bit about Glory. She's traveling in a van, and we'll talk about that here shortly. She's a nomad at heart. She's always looking for the next adventure, the next cool story that she can tell. She's originally from Canada, but again, like I said, she's living on the road currently and capturing and documenting her journey on her YouTube channel. Again, the name of that is Glory's Stories. She's got over 40,000 people subscribed to her over there. All of her videos are getting tons of views. She's got a great community over there. Glory, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good, Dusty. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. So I think your story, and no pun intended, is super cool, what you have going on. So tell my audience what you're doing and what you're capturing on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, okay. So right now, I'm currently just outside of Banff National Park in Canada. But for the last, it's not even been that long yet. It's been about a few weeks, probably 3 weeks that I've been living in my Ford Excursion. Lovely Ford Excursion. I just kitted out the back as I could, put a bed back there, did it as affordably as I could. To be honest, I just didn't want to do anything too permanent because I was like, let me just see what life on the road is like. I wanted to do van life. It's always been a dream of mine to especially come up to Banff, to go to the national parks. And so right now I'm just living in my Ford Excursion and driving around, convoying with some friends, seeing national parks, documenting it as I go, and posting it on YouTube.
So the channel, as far as just, you had the channel longer than you've been doing kind of this excursion.
Yes.
And the channel is really just you basically just the diaries of you blogging and doing things, talking about your life and things that you have going on. So, I mean, I looked at your channel, I watched a number of your videos, and people are so intrigued about not just the journey that you're on, but just your opinion about things and your life and kind of the vlogs that you do. Can you talk about just the most maybe surprising thing about the YouTube side of things, of capturing everything on YouTube so far up to this point?
The background
Yeah,
aspect of it, or the things that have happened?
just the most surprising thing to you of capturing your life on YouTube, and now that you're a YouTuber, what's been the most exciting or surprising thing to you?
Honestly, it's been just the ability, the things that it opens up. I never, ever thought a year and a half ago that I could ever be doing this and posting my life on the internet. Like, that was not even a possibility. Like, I saw it and I dreamed about it and I wanted it, but I was just working my little job in Kansas trying to get by, you know, trying to figure out what I was doing with my life, which I also think is a theme on my channel. Is it's, hey guys, I'm only 21. I don't got anything figured out. I'm just out here trying to do what I love. And somehow that took me to living on a sailboat. That took me to living in a remote place in Hawaii, like literally the southernmost tip of the biggest island, and it's no one is out there. And I got to live there for 6 months. And then now in a vehicle, it's just, I didn't think that the opportunities that would open up would have back then. Definitely the most surprising thing.
I think for me, the community building aspect for you has been just so impressive as far as how many people watch all of your uploads. What have you done to optimize that, to try to grow and foster that community around just people watching you? Because it's like a travel TV show, right? Like when you upload a video talking about your life, whether you're in Hawaii or you're in a van or whatever, you're capturing these really exciting moments and you're telling these stories. Can you just talk about that just quickly and briefly, just about just the YouTube side of things and fostering that community?
Yeah, I'm definitely blown away that I have that the people that always watch, and they're my favorite. Like, I know the people who comment all the time, like I just recognize that little username and I'm like, oh, I love you for commenting every single video. It's the best. I'm honestly so honored for it. But so whenever I went to go live on a sailboat, it was on a channel called Sailing Zatara, and they had like a bigger channel. And then I would say that was kind of my kickstart. It was like, whoa. Then suddenly people were like, oh, hey, look at this Glory Stories girl. You know, she's cool. And then a lot of them saw me from there and then have just seen me over the last year and been with me through some of the ups and downs for sure. And I don't know why they stick around, but I love them for sticking around. And they're like, I've been watching you since your Sailing Zatara days. And I'm like, yay, I love you for that. It's really sweet. I think YouTube, it has its ups and downs for sure. Posting your life on the internet, it's not, I've had to learn to not look at the numbers always. It's like, hey, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. I do this because I love it. And even if I'm making a lot of money this month, or if I'm not making a lot of money this month, I do it because I love it. And the people who do watch, they're really sweet. I love them. And I like to comment with them and chat with them too.
So are you doing anything off YouTube, like other platforms, Instagram, TikTok? And can you talk about your strategy there of how you're making YouTube the central hub, but you have other things around it that you continue to grow your brand with?
Yeah. So YouTube is my main thing. It's also like the thing I'm most passionate about, which is why I chose YouTube as my main platform. But Instagram, I know, is such a good platform. So I guess my strategy is YouTube. I want to get a video out every week. That's my thing. I'm like, let's get a video out every week. And then Instagram, I'd love to post 3 or 4 times a week. Also, just because I feel like Instagram can be, I want to say less formal, but I guess it's not always less formal. Just Instagram is like a little snapshot. It's like hey, this is something really tiny. This is 60 seconds of something that happened in my week, but look at this other video that I posted over here. So it's like, Instagram, I also think, has a bigger reach. You can go wider with Instagram sometimes, but then you really build your community on YouTube, which is why Instagram, yes, I do love Instagram, and I find myself scrolling all the time, which is so not good. But yeah, so I post probably 3-4 times a week on Instagram, and then once a week on YouTube, and kind of bring them over, you know?
Have you found that the short form kind of stories and vertical video on Instagram, those people catch you in the bite-sized form over there, and then they do come over to the YouTube channel? Is a lot of the people that you're capturing or your audience coming from your other socials?
Not as much, actually. I thought it would a lot more, but not as much.
Do they just stay there? They just stay there and consume it that way?
A lot of them stay on Instagram, and I'm not saying none of them move over. Definitely a chunk of them do, but not nothing dramatic.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I think people who
interesting.
love YouTube stay on YouTube, and people who love Instagram tend to stay on Instagram because they are such dramatically different platforms.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're consuming like the short form stuff over on Instagram, you haven't seen too much crossover. That's interesting because I
It is,
found it
yeah.
to be the case for the podcast. When people consume the podcast on YouTube, there's some crossover, but a lot of the times they just listen to the podcast on YouTube like it's an audio app. They'll press play on the video and put it down and start doing whatever they're doing. I love that. So let's talk about the YouTube technical side of things. Let's talk about thumbnail, video editing, all of these things. Talk about your
Yep.
workflow. What's your workflow like as far as you're on the road? So it's maybe a
Yep.
little unique to what people listening to this, unless they're doing kind of similar things to what you do. Talk about your just from start to finish, from kind of ideation all the way to publish. What are you working with? How do you do
Yep.
it?
All right, so this is how I do it. I pride myself in being organized. My hard drive is so beautifully organized, and I need it to be. Otherwise, I would go crazy. So, what I do is I tend to map out my videos beforehand. So, I just like to have an idea of what I want to do, beginning, middle, end. Before, I didn't have that, and that was so difficult. So, I had to learn my lesson with that one and have an idea of where I want my videos to be, shoot the video, and then I organize it all by kind of place or by section on my hard drive. So I just plug it in, I organize it, I look through the footage, I'm like, okay, this looks good, this doesn't look good. And then from when I have my footage, I start changing my initial plan. And it's all, that section wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. So actually, we're going to focus on this section instead. And oh my goodness, look, I just found this awesome song and I just feel so inspired with this song. And then start from there. So it's have my footage and then I start looking for music for different sections. So I'm like, if I want to do an intro, all right, perfect. I'm going to find a song. Actually, I really like this song. Pop it in the timeline, start cutting it, and then move on to the next section, but then go back to the first section, kind of work through it. So the editing game is definitely the thing that takes the longest. I think if you ask any YouTuber, any content creator, they're like, you don't even understand how much the editing game can just destroy you sometimes. But also, it's my favorite part because that's where I see the vision come alive a bit more. Yes. So I start working through that. And then by the end of the video, I'm like, pretty good. And then I go through it 2, 3, sometimes 4 times, fine tuning little details. But I like to work with music first, then I pop my clips in, which I know a lot of people don't do, but I do not understand how they don't do that. I'm like, I would go wild. I would go mad if I didn't follow that.
I do wedding videography. It's a side gig of mine. I don't do as much of it now, but I used to do a ton of weddings, and I would always oftentimes start with a song for portions of the video because I wanted to capture the story of kind of the emotion of the event or what's going on. And so oftentimes music can do that even better than us presenting that. So I do understand that tactic for sure.
Dramatically, music changes everything. Music always changes everything. And that's the thing where sometimes it can take a long time to find a song. And then sometimes it's like, I hear a song and it's like immediately I can see the video or I can see the section in my head. And I'm like, oh, I just want to cut this and make it like pop it in the timeline because music is everything.
What tools do you use? Like you mentioned how you do it, but what are you rocking a MacBook Air and you're doing this in CapCut or iMovie, or you might have mentioned the software, but I might have missed it.
No, Final Cut Pro.
Okay.
Final Cut Pro, yeah. So I've been using that software for a few years now and I know the insides and outs. So I love that one.
That's awesome. Now, once you decide on a video and you're, okay, I'm going to do this. This is my idea. You obviously are really good at storytelling. I watched your most recent video and a couple other videos, and you're capturing where you are, and you don't just talk and ramble about just you have these kind of topics that you're covering in these segments of your videos, and it really keeps people engaged in the video, and I would assume that's done by design. Can you just talk about the structure of a video for you and how you try to retain people? Because I think that's what people have such a hard time doing, is keeping people on their video or on platform, which really helps a channel grow. Can you talk about the things that you've done to help people stay?
Yeah, I learned a little while ago that I need to have a topic. And I know you mentioned it, but before I had been doing vloggy things like, this is what it's like to live on a sailboat, or this is what it's like. And then I was like, actually, I need to have a topic because it also helps me. And then I definitely think it helps the audience. So number one, knowing your title before you even start filming, because if you know your title, then you're going to know the idea of your topic and where you want to go with the video.
Yes.
And this is also specifically towards blogs or kind of lifestyle videos. Even podcast videos, it's a little bit different. And all that stuff, but knowing your title, number one. And then, yeah, I would say in one sense, it's leave room for the creativity where nothing is hard and fast. There's no rule that's hard and fast where it's like, oh, 2 minutes is too long for a section. That's an idea I have in my head of like, if the section is 2 minutes, it better be pretty interesting. And that has give or take. But I don't want to be talking for 2 minutes straight. I want to have some kind of B-roll pop up in there or switch the section. The music changes. There's some change in the 2 minutes. And that I think helps keep people engaged as well.
And something you do, and a lot of vlog style video creators do this who are good, is that you open your videos with kind of this monologue of you doing a voiceover, which is really high quality voiceover, by the way, with music. And then the visuals are changing, right? You're showing clips and footage, previewing what's to come in the video. What did you strategically talk about that for a minute? Because it feels like a documentary style type video of where you're just capturing it and you're talking about the title of the video, you're talking about the topic, but you're also discussing the characters in the video, the people you're with, the locations that you're at. Like, how are you really strategically making sure that you're hooking people early on?
I guess you have to see that you are speaking to people that have known you for a while, and then you're also speaking to people who probably have no idea who you are, right? And so that's where doing a voiceover intro, and I don't do it every time, but I love to do it because it almost gives even if you don't know me, like even if I don't say, hi, my name is Glory and welcome to Glory Stories, it's, oh, wait, she's been living in her car. Oh, she's been doing this for a few months. You always mention, this is my car. I've been living here for a while. Named him Mr. Collins. Like you bring it in, and then it gives people a framework for the rest of the video. So the first 30 seconds to a minute, I always want people to feel like they've been introduced, even if it's not directly, hi, my name is Glory. But it's, oh, I have some kind of idea of who she is. Like, I see something about who she is. I see what she's been doing for the last little while. That gives the framework for the next 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 11 minutes of the video.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense. Recording on the go, like recording out and about like you are, it's tricky to do it well. So can you talk about the stuff that you're using, like the camera, the audio stuff that you're using, and how you make it all work to sound and look as good as it does?
Of course. So my camera is a Sony a6700. I like that one because it has really good specs. It's not full frame. So if anyone is a camera geek out here, not full frame, but I do love it. And then I have two lenses. I have a really wide one so that you can see the whole scape behind me, and then I can talk really close and it just feels good. And then I have a more zoom lens, and that kind of gives me access to get more details. Like I want to get the flower. I want to get the close shot of the mountain and the trees. So I have those two lenses. And then microphones, I'm currently using my DJI. I have it in my shirt right here. I'm using a little DJI. What are they called? They're little portable microphones.
Yeah, the one that you see almost every YouTuber use. Is it the square? It's the little square one?
Yep, it's the square.
Yeah.
Those ones are the best. I want to get sponsored. DJI sponsor me, but those
Explain
I use all the time.
how that works with the phone. Is it just an app and it hooks up to the phone so you're syncing the audio and you don't have to sync it in post?
Correct, but it's not even an app. So I currently have something plugged in right now to my headphone jack. And then this is wireless, and I have two of them, so I could have a buddy with me right now and you could hear him just fine too. And then it syncs right up to the audio, which is the best. Or if ever I'm just running around and it's like something's happening really quick and I can't plug this in, I can just press record directly on the microphone and I'll pull that out afterwards. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
awesome.
it just directly on it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I can just plug it in and roll with that.
Yeah, I'll link all that in the show notes for those interested in taking a look at what Glory's talking about, because it's tough, and those DJI mics are wonderful. Speaking of wedding videography, whenever we would get the speeches from the bride and the groom at our videos, we would use these Tascam microphones, and they were the lapel microphones, but they were way bigger. They were like boxes, and you'd have to hide them in the dress, and you'd have to hide the wire. And now things are so different.
Stick it down the back.
In the way, and we used to tape it with like white colored tape or black color for the grooms. Man, technology it's a beautiful thing. Your thumbnail design, I think, is strategic as well, and I want you to speak on it because I feel you don't overdo it. There's no text on the thumbnails. It's just a kind of a really high quality screenshot from the adventure of that day or of that video. So can you talk about how you pick your thumbnails? Now, there are some thumbnails that have a little bit of text on them, but for the most part, it's just a high quality image about the video. Speak on how you pick that.
Yeah, sometimes it's so experimental for my thumbnails. I've done ones where I've like, I want to add text to this one. And then I'll take an hour and add text and make it look good, make it perfect. And I'll be like, let me just get a second opinion. And then I'll show a friend and they'll be like, I hate it. And I'm like, what? No, I just wasted so much time. And then they'll be like, no, just do it without the text. I'm like, oh, fine. So doing the thumbnails, I want it to be, I would love to see my face on the thumbnails. I know some creators don't do that, but I like it whenever people see my face on the thumbnails. So it's, oh, that is Glory's video. Yeah. And then I do want it to embody the vibe of the video. So I have one, most recent one, I think it was, I'm 21 and I live in a truck, right? And it's a picture of me with, and then I have ones where it's just a little, that one I did take a picture. That one was like a picture I took. And then I have ones where it's just a screenshot and it's just me and a friend and it's like good times, but then we're sitting on a sailboat and it's, you can see that's the vibe of the video for that one. That video is going to be more vloggy. That one's going to be more like, this is what we're doing. Oh my gosh, we just went to Oahu and we got invited on some random sailboat. Like that's the vibe where it's just, you take a sweet moment in the video. Hopefully the lighting's good. Hopefully it looks good. And what pop that over there.
What software are you using? Are you to edit and to optimize, if any?
Yeah. Final Cut Pro and then Lightroom. Lightroom I do use to edit it and adjust the colors. But I do so much in Final Cut Pro. Like I don't have to use Lightroom if I don't want to.
Yeah, you can just pull that from there. Awesome. Can you talk about something that you wish you would have known sooner now that you're in this thing, in this journey, as far as you are along? Can you talk about something that you're like, man, I wish I would have known that sooner about YouTube growth or community, whatever it may be?
Yeah, and I'm still learning this one for sure, still learning it. But it is, you got to create what you want to create. Mm. And what I mean by that is I've done things where it was like, I just think that this video would go viral. I just think that this video would do well. And then I make it and it's, I'm not actually having fun making it. This actually isn't anything about me. This isn't anything that I enjoy particularly making, but I just think it would do well. And then I find that it stresses me out so much and the editing is always like the worst. And then in the end, it doesn't do so well and I'm like, ugh, and then you just feel emotionally dead. Like creative highs and lows do very much exist. And so I think it's actually, wait, you do have to create something that you do love, you know? I think that can be underrated, is creating something that you love. And obviously there are people watching and you have to put in the numbers and understand that, but in the end, especially with a creative job, there can be such highs and lows that you have to do something that kind of keeps you going. Actually, wait, I do love this. So it doesn't matter what the numbers are. I love it, so I'm going to keep going.
How do you balance that, though? How do you balance it as a human that's not even a content creator, but balance the time and effort? And you look at the YouTube Studio app and you're refreshing it and you're like, oh no, the views are going down. And this consumes it consumes so many creators' time and it really does dampen their creative juices. And so how do you do it personally? How do you balance it? What are some maybe guardrails you put into place?
I'm not allowed to look at my video for the first 6 hours. Which is bad because I do want to comment on the video, but if I do look at it, I can just close my eyes and press the comment button and respond to comments and not look at the numbers.
Sure.
And then also I have picked up some freelance sometimes to just help with the financial side of things. I would love to do YouTube full time, but right now I am doing both. I do a little bit of freelance, but then mostly social media is my thing, and that kind of takes off the pressure, which I think was big, of I can make this because I love it and I don't have to make it because I'm financially dependent upon it. So that was a thing.
That's powerful because you're then not creating the art because you have to have food on the table. You're creating it just because you love it and just because you want to make it. Now, which
is huge.
Yeah, and what tends to happen though is that the creators that love it and are passionate end up making the most money from it because they're good at it. It's a circle, but if you know what you're doing and you're good at it and you love the things that you do, like for what Glory does and Glory's stories on the YouTube channel, you can just tell it just oozes. You love this. You love to travel. You love the people you're with, your friends and the people who are on the journeys. That comes through the screen very easily. And so that's very hard to do when you're trying to do this thing for money. And I remember this podcast, we're now almost 450 episodes in. I've been doing this for a decade now. When I was younger, I was thinking, everyone's starting a podcast and we got to do this thing to grow the business and the brand and make money. But now I do it because of the conversations that I have. I do it because of meeting people like you digitally and being able to pull some bits and pieces out that can help other creators along the way. That's the story of kind of the podcast, and it exactly exemplifies what you're talking about. So I love that. And so speaking of that, let's transition now into money, into monetization. You obviously have to make ends meet. So you do a little bit of freelancing on the side, but talk about all of the different ways that you are making money to allow you to do and live the lifestyle you're living now.
Yeah, my goal is to build it up to where I have a few different streams of income so that I can do this for longer term. And if one fails or if one's having a bad month, it's fine. I have like 3 others, but I'm only 21. I haven't built that up yet. I'm still working on it, still fighting for all these different things. So right now I make money off of YouTube. I make money off of freelance work. We talked about that. And then I also like sponsorships are huge. I want to get more. I haven't gotten so many yet just because I've been a little picky, which I realize I should not be picky.
Right.
So sponsorships are pretty big. And then also Patreon. Patreon has been so good. I love my Patreon members. I want to go on there and chat with them more. I post like little small things. Like I put camera roll dumps, or sometimes I'll have a bunch of bloops that I don't go in the end of the video on YouTube, and I'll just post those on there instead. And that's where a lot of my Patreon members also get to see another side of me, a little bit more of a personal side of me. And then they're also supporting me monthly, which is so nice.
Yeah, and Patreon is just like fan funding, right? We do it for the podcast, and we don't make a ton of money through Patreon, but the most avid fans of your content can provide you a little financial support over there, and then you can provide them with a little bit of extra benefit or bonus content. Like we do these weekly monthly mastermind calls, and we do a ton of other kind of little extra things over there on like a Discord server, like a YouTube creator forum where I bring people on, and these people can bounce ideas off each other. So providing the free content to get them to the paid stuff, right? Like building the relationship and the trust. And then when you have that relationship with the audience, they then will be willing to give you some financial support and backing.
Yeah, so, it's true.
Yeah, I love that. So Patreon is a great way, and you do ad revenue. Now, a channel like yours, which is right at 40,000 subscribers, your videos are killing it as far as like views, 40 to 100,000 views, some even more than that. What does a channel like yours make, like on average, for like ad revenue?
So dependent. Like
differs.
So dependent.
Yeah.
It's dramatically differs for sure. I have one video out there, I think, that has 175,000 views. I did post 4 videos that month, but that one did me quite well. I made $3,000 that month just on ad revenue.
Sure.
And then I've had months where it's $400. And it's because I was doing a lot of back work, and I only posted 2 videos that week or that month, and it's just
But it's motivating knowing that, hey, if I stay consistent and do 4 to 6 videos a month, like I can at least know what a bottom baseline will be, right? Of once you you can see how many views you're going to get, as far as the videos. So awesome.
Yeah.
And now freelance work, are you doing like social media stuff, video editing? I know you mentioned the freelance, but what types of stuff are you doing?
Yeah, video editing, social media stuff. So there's a company that I'm working with right now, and I'm going through some of their old footage and editing it, adjusting it, creating some content for them, and organizing it for them. So a lot of video work. That is definitely like the field that I'm in, is video work. And then I'll do social media for some people and adjust it from there. But it's not all content creation. It is just a back video editing, making a video for them, making an advertisement for them, stuff like that.
Social media and YouTube is interesting. A lot of YouTube creators are very bad at social media. I just don't know.
So true.
It is so true. I wonder if there were like a cheat sheet or a PDF that someone could download with like 5 tips on it. Like someone who's good at socials, like with what you're doing, what would be some like heavy hitter tips of stop doing this, or you need to do this to grow your outside socials?
Start, if you find it, let me know and send it to me.
I got you.
But if I had to make my own, let's see, I think I would do, you have to schedule your Instagram content. So take a day, take 2 days, and just focus on Instagram. Just focus on Instagram, make a bunch of stuff, batch it, schedule it. Don't think about it for a week and a half. I think that's big, especially when you're doing 2 different platforms, is you can't be thinking about both platforms at the same time, because that gets exhausting pretty quick. Oh, hello. That gets exhausting pretty quick. And then I would say number 2 is to know your niche and post within your niche. And I think that goes for both, but I would say even more Instagram. Is right now I really want to be in that travel content. I'm living in a van, solo female traveler. I want to focus more on that on Instagram. And then also differentiate it. I think that reels now are so much like Instagram boosts them a lot, but photo posts are really good for the people who follow you. The photos are also really nice. So I guess don't take away the photos. I would say that that's something like you can still post like camera roll dumps and all that stuff, but then reels, that there should probably be like a 3-to-1 ratio. At least that's what I have in my mind.
Yeah.
And I think that about sums it up.
Yeah, I think people get overwhelmed because there's so many of them. You're just like, oh, I got to be on TikTok. I got to be on Instagram. I got to have a website, a newsletter, or this or that. When you get so overwhelmed, I think if you pick a couple, like 2 or 3 of the ones that you really want to focus on that are optimized for your niche and your space, and you could know what that is by looking at other people, I think that it would take a load off as far as like mentally draining, worried about, should I be here? Should I post here? Which I think
especially whenever you're your own team. Like I am the only one posting on Glory Stories. I don't have a team. And so that's big. Is focus on one for a few months and then start dabbling in the other one. Get one built up decently enough, I think. Because the more you divide your energy, the less you're going to see dramatic growth in one platform.
Could not agree more with that. So as we close this interview out, I want to ask you, what's next for you? What are you looking to do short-term, long-term with the YouTube channel? Like, where are we going to see Glory Stories here in 6 months to a year?
Yeah, so I'm going to keep driving around the national parks for a few months, probably until give or take the end of the year, November, December. And then I will probably take a little bit of time off just around Thanksgiving. My sister's giving birth, and that's exciting. So some personal fun things are going on. And then afterwards, honestly, I have longer term goals, but shorter term, 6 months to a year, I'm very open. I am loving van life, so I would love to keep doing it if I could. Would probably need to update my rig a little bit, but see where that takes me. And then definitely still traveling. I don't think traveling is going anywhere. Got a Brazil trip and some fun things planned. So Glory Stories is still traveling around. I'm still doing some stuff. And then longer term, I would love to buy some land and kind of switch the channel to more of homesteading is a bit dramatic, but just life in the woods.
Right.
Life maybe with some farm animals and just documenting that journey and building that brand. So it'll change for sure.
I love that. And again, guys, you can find Glory over on her YouTube channel, Glory's Stories. I'll also have her Instagram linked so you can connect with her and on all of her socials. And Glory, you've been such an amazing guest. Thank you so much for sharing your insight just on the journey of the channel. And I can't wait to watch your channel grow and where it's going to go in the future. And that's just such the fun thing about doing these podcasts is I can go back and look at the episode numbers and say, I wonder where that person is, or I wonder where that creator is now. And I see the growth from when I have them on the show. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dusty. Appreciate it.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget, you can subscribe to the show for absolutely free in your podcast player of choice. Also, there are ways you can connect with us. You can support us by supporting our sponsor, TubeBuddy, as well as supporting us over on Patreon to get access to our creator Discord community. And I also offer YouTube coaching and consultation, YouTube channel reviews, and just overall business coaching if that's something that you are wanting to look into. So make sure you check us out there, and we'll see you next week.